Jordan, you just did your presentation here at the professionell Kongress in Mannheim. In essence, what are the main topics or aspects an IFA can take away from your speech?
Well, I think, listen, when you're a financial professional, I mean, there's a huge responsibility to the people whose money that you're managing. And I think one of the things about my story is you see that, you can laugh at it, and you can also learn a lot about, about persuasion, and that, how high you can climb if you're motivated and want to work hard. But also, the downfall of what happened to me is by losing my ethical way. So I think that as important as the messages about sales and persuasion and making money is equally as important that you don't do that in the absence of ethics and integrity.
You made the distinction between inner and outer game of success. In a nutshell, what is the most important insight one can gain from that?
In the inner game, I always talk about mindset, the things that have to happen up here between your ears before you ever go out into the world and take action. And a lot of people, what happens is some people, they're really good at the outer game, which is the strategies of being a business person and growing your business and being a closer. And then you have the other side, which is the beliefs you have, your ability to manage your state. So, when someone's really achieving at a high level, they've been able to reconcile both. So they have the inner game straightened out, so they have their beliefs in order, they have their standards set, their vision for the future, and then they also have the strategy. So one without the other, it's kind of hard to really achieve at the highest level.
One of your points were how to establish yourself as an expert. We don't have the time for the whole presentation again, but what are your main points on that?
I mean, I think that, nowadays, you can, because of the internet, depending on what sector of the business, you can almost establish a lot before someone even speaks to you by what's on your website, when people go to check you out, by writing books or being out there with a blog or something. Just establish yourself as an expert. But back in the day, it was more about from that first second someone would lay eyes on you. How are you dressed? How did you carry yourself? How do you shake hands? What is your tonality? What words are you using? So it's a lot about tonality and body language, and just making sure that when you speak to someone that you come off not just as an expert, being sharp on the ball, that you're enthusiastic, and people connect with that at a very deep level. And then the idea that you're an expert is that we've been taught since we're very young to seek out experts for the problems that we have. So when you are perceived as an expert, and again, it's mostly tonality and your body language and a couple of key words, people will defer to you. They'll let you control the conversation. They'll allow you to ask them questions, and they'll answer honestly. If they believe you're not an expert, you're a novice, they'll start to take control, and they won't answer you honestly, or they'll cut you off, and that's very hard to close when that's the case.
Is that what's behind the straight line sales techniques that you are talking about?
Well, that's what's behind the front end of the system, and so it's sort of the ability to be perceived as an expert and sharp and on the ball. That allows you then to essentially run the strategy of the straight line without some of those, it's almost the glue that holds it together, because if you're not perceived as an expert, there's nothing you can't do. There, people are cutting you off. They're not answering your questions honestly. So in order to really be a great salesperson, you need to become a great asker of questions, to really find out what your clients' needs are. Not just the ones they say up front, but the deeper needs and where their worries are and their pain lies, especially when it comes to financial products, so you can really help them solve the problem long-term and short-term. You can't do that if you're not perceived as an expert, because they won't give you the information. And if you try to even present a solution, they'll keep cutting you off, because that's what you do to novices. So that is the glue that allows you then to run the straight line. The straight line itself is a strategy of lining up the core elements of influence, in a very predictable way that connects with your client, that builds rapport and so forth. So the two work hand in hand.
Last question. You're a personality not without critics. People who say, someone who has been sentenced to some years in jail for fraud he did to other people, he did not even pay back 1/10 of the $110 million he owes to other people. What do you answer them?
Well, the number is not true, because I actually have paid back a great portion of what the money that was lost. But that's even if I hadn't, by the way. Because let's just say the only reason I've been able to is because I've been making a lot of money. But let's just say that I was doing something that just didn't earn me a lot of money. That still wouldn't preclude me from being able to redeem myself and deliver a great message to people. And I think there are two types of people in the world. There are those people that believe in redemption, that believe that people can learn from their mistakes, and I have a lot of value to offer because of that. And there are those that are more closed-minded, that if someone makes a mistake, they don't want to even hear from them. And usually those are the ones that are making the mistakes themselves, and they're sort of kind of, projecting out their own stuff. But, I found as I go around the world, there's more than enough people out there who believe in redemption and who love the idea that, you can make mistakes and come back from failure and build yourself an empowered life. Because I think a lot of people in the world make mistakes. Maybe not as big as mine, some bigger than mine. It doesn't matter what it is, but people go through rough times. They have their ups, they have their downs, and I think it's very inspirational to people to be able to look at me and say, wow, this guy was like in the jail, lost everything, and just look what he's been able to do by hard work and by admitting his mistakes and also delivering a valuable message. And I think that's really great for people to see, both young and old, especially like I have children, well, they're actually 20, 19, they're almost adults, right? My daughter's 21. But, it's inspirational to them to look at what I've done in my life. And I think that all people can take something away from that. Nothing else, just that not to give up, not to be defined by the mistakes of your past, but to learn from the mistakes, grow from them, and develop resources from them. I think that's a huge part of the message.
Thanks for being with us, Jordan.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thanks a lot.